Swami G, you're on mute, Swami G.
Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavataye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinabaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhir Yajatraha Sthirairangai Shuštuvagam Sastanubhi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brahaspatir dadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Tat Tvam Eva. You are that. You are that. You are only that. And Tvam Eva Tat. That Evakara makes it very clear that there is no other possibility. Tat Tvam Eva Tat. You cannot possibly give another interpretation like you good for Tattvamasi. You cannot say Tasya Tvamasi. You belong to something. Or you cannot say you are a part of something. And then you go and call that part infinite. How can you be a part of something which is wholeness, Purnatvam? Anything which has got a part will fall apart. That is the nature of the Jagat. Everything in the Jagat is what Swami Ji calls put together. And it will fall apart. There is nothing you can do about it. So this is not something that has been put together. That is what it is. One single whole. Akhanda Bodham. You are that. What is it? And he said, Nityam. Like that, you cannot interpret it saying Tasya Tvamasi. It cannot be belonging to something else as separate from something else. At the same time, you cannot say that is infinite. All these words, Sukshma, Sukshmataram, Nityam, all of them will eventually mean only the one thing. And that is, there is only one whole, indivisible whole, and you are that whole. If you say infinite is not a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. are numbers, whole numbers. You can also have fractions. You can have decimals. You can also have irrational numbers. Root of -1. Infinity does not belong to this set. Therefore, when you say nityam, when you say sukshma, sukshmataram, purnaha, it is not something you can gain by adding more. However much you add, you will never come to infinity because infinity is not part of the series. You can have a simple series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. You can have a little more elaborate series 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, etc. You can even have a different series 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, etc. You can have a geometric progression. You can have exponential progression. It'll just go faster. But whichever you take, you will never reach infinity. You cannot reach infinity. You cannot, if you say you are any one thing, from there you can never become Purnatva. There are only two possibilities. Either you are Purnaha or you're not. Nothing else. If you are Purnaha, then all I have to do is know that I am Purnaha. My own idea of myself is not Purnaha. My own idea of myself is a small, insignificant, limited being. Limited in every way. Limited by time, limited by space, limited by vastu. And every other division that I create, division by species, I am a human being, immediately says, I am not an animal. I am not a deva. I am Indian. I limit myself. It doesn't matter whether you say I'm an Icelander or an American or an Australian or Indian. You're limiting yourself. Once you start with that basis, it doesn't matter what you do, what you add to it, how fast you add to it. You can never reach the state of being Purnaha. It doesn't belong to any of these series. It is not even a number. Even mathematics doesn't have an infinity number. The best we can do in mathematics is tending to infinity. Basically saying very large. So if we say, many may not agree, animals are between 1 and 10,000. Humans are between 10,000, 10 trillion. Devas are between 10 trillion and 100 zillion. But when you look at it like that, none of these is infinite. And none can become infinite. Just because devas are at a much higher level than animals, it doesn't make it any easier for them. Because either you are infinite or you're not. If you're not infinite, you can never become infinite. Whatever number you come to, I don't know if you did this when we were children, we used to argue with other children. One child will say, my father is very big. Sometimes even they will say, my father is very rich. You know, he's got million. So other smart guy will say, My father is million plus one. My father is trillion plus one. Any number you take, finite number, you can always add to it. Never will it become infinite. Therefore, when he uses words like nityam, it is not bound by time. Time itself and space itself are concepts within mithya. We very easily see vastu as concept within mithya, and we say mithya vastu is within time. Why do you say that? Because mithya vastu has a beginning and has an end. In time T1 it began, in time T2 it disappeared. Space, same thing. However big a number, however big a time frame you take. In our scales, we have anu, which is a very, very, very small fraction of the second. And this is not today's doing. This anu was something which is there in our ancient writings. And from there's a scale. Goes above, till you reach a state of 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 1 century, 1 millennia, 1 yuga. 1 millennia is 1,000 years. Millennium is 1,000 years. In that 1,000 years, there are 432 of them in one Kali Yuga. 432 millennia. In Kali Yuga, in Dwapara Yuga, there are twice as many. Thank God. Kali Yuga is the smallest of the Yuga. The 4 Yugas. And that smallest Yuga is so big that we can't even conceive this Yuga. Dwapara Yuga is twice as big. 864,000. Treta Yuga is thrice as big. And Satya Yuga is 4 times as big. So when you do your puja and sankalpa, we start with so-and-so kalpa, which has so many manvantaras. In that manvantara, there are so many mahayugas. In those mahayugas, there is so many, we are in the Kali Yuga, a particular Kali Yuga. In that particular Kali Yuga, we are in Prathame Pade. If you assume that all 4 padas are the same, each pada is an interesting number. 108,000 years. And if you assume that each generation is, let us say, 25 years, in 1,000 years, we'll have 40 generations. So in one pada of one Kali Yuga, we will have 108 multiplied by 40 generations. That means the sankalpa that when we do puja, the Panditji tells us, Pratame Pade, Kali Yuge, Pratame Pade. This is being said by at least some 4,500 years, 4,500 generations. Same Kali Yuge, Pratame Pade. Then you have Mahayuga. And eventually you have Kalpa. Kalpa is a huge number. It is said 1,000 Mahayugas, 1,000 Mahayugas makes one half day of Brahmaji. So if one full day of Brahmaji, you can take care of. And assume Brahmaji's life is 100 years. You can imagine the number. And then when that Brahmaji, at the end of that Brahmaji comes, that Kalpa is over. New Brahmaji comes. That new Brahmaji has all the data available to become the entire samsara again, because at that Kalpa there is Mahapralaya. Everything is unmanifest. Everything goes back into Karana. Everything is still there. And it is reimagined. I'm using reimagined for want of a better word. So kamayata bahusyam ye yeti. May I become many. In what way do I become many? Because all the data is there. Surya Chandrama Sovyatha Dhata Akalpayat. That's why Kalpa. Such big numbers, but it is still not infinite. Therefore, there is something even prior to this Brahmaji. Brahmaji also has to be created. That which is not subject to time, just as happens to be you. Tat Swamiyeva. Swamiyeva Tatu. And that he described as Vishwasya Ayatanam. Mahat, infinite. And yet, Sukshma Sukshmataram. Not subject to any limitation of space. Trikala Titaha, not subject to any limitation of time. Time as an idea, as a karya doesn't even exist, still unmanifest. Very difficult concept to understand. Scientists are still struggling with it. So having said all this and made it clear that you, second person, are that, or what? All that is said in the third person. Etasmad jayate pranaha. Everything came from this. What is this third person? Brahman. That he reduced to second person. That Brahman is you. Everybody listening to this Upadesha of the Shastra has to say, oh, he's pointing to me. Tattvameva. So all of the people hearing this say, oh, tattvameva, 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 tattvameva. But later in the further verses, he will bring it down to Uttama Purusha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan talks about all this, 7th chapter onwards. And there are people who will point it out and say, you have a very egoistic Ishvara, God. And some people interpret like that. Our famous Hare Rama, Hare Krishna people will interpret like that only. Yes, that is true. Krishna is the only God. But what does Krishna say? Maya tatamidam sarvam mayeva pratishthitam. All that he's saying in the Gita. Matsani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avasthitaha. I am not in them. They are in me. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. But I am in everybody's heart. Sarva kshetresu bhasayati. Sarva bhutastha atmanam. All this, so many statements he makes. Does he make it as Mr. Krishna? If he makes it as Mr. Krishna, then these have no meaning. Vyasacharya presents Bhagavan. That Bhagavan, he says, you. That Bhagavan is you. The moment somebody says that Bhagavan is you, we already limit ourselves to this body, mind, sense complexness. How is it possible? I can't be Bhagavan. My eyesight is fading already. How can I be Bhagavan? How will I see what everybody else is doing? How will I give them appropriate karma phala? Vyasacharya presents Krishna as Bhagavan. He Bhagavan uvacha, not Krishna uvacha. The next 2-3 verses which we will read now. Jagrat swapna sushuptyadi
Jagrat swapna sushuptyadi
prapancham yat prakashate
prapancham yat prakashate
tad brahmahamiti jnatva
tad brahmahamiti jnatva
sarvabandhaiः pramuchyate
sarvabandhaiः pramuchyate
Vishudhamasu yad bhogyam
Trishudhamasu yad bhogyam
bhokta bhogascha yad bhavet
bhokta bhogascha yad bhavet
tebhyo vilakshana sakshi
tebhyo vilakshana sakshi
inmatroham sadashivah
chinmatroham sadashivah
mayyeva sakalam jatam
mayyeva sakalam jatam
mayi sarvam pratishthitam
mayi sarvam pratishthitam
mayi sarvam layam yati
mayi sarvam layam yati
tad brahmadvayamasmyaham
tad brahmadvayamasmyaham
tad brahma advayam asmi aham. Okay, Clay brought it down from third person to second person to now Uttama Purusha. I am. Now, Shastra is speaking in the voice of the Shishya who's understood. Jagrat Swapna Shushuptyadi Prapancham. We saw that the whole life that we recognize is nothing but a transition between these three states. States of being. Whose states are these? Not Atmas. It is the state of the individual minds. I am in the Jagrat state. Mind and Ahankara. I am the dreamer. I am the sleeper. Earlier we had an idea that I am the waker. I am waking. I am awake, and I'm doing everything in the Jagat. I'm interacting with the Jagat. Then I became the dreamer. Or before being dreamer, I became the sleeper. Then I became the dreamer. Then I became the sleeper again. Then I became the waker. Hey, which is you? You cannot go from one to the other and say, this is I, this is I, this is I, this is I. There has to be something which is unchanging in the midst of all this change. Jagrat Swapna Shushuptyadi Prapancham. The three states, the three fields of experience. Puratrayam, he called it earlier. Puratrayam Kridati. Something else is there which is common across all this. What is that? Yat prakashate. This yat prakashate, you can interpret in many ways. That which shines in and through each of these states. One that is unchanging. Anandam, Akhanda Bodham. Or you can say, Yat Prakashayati, with that which makes these three states be what they are, without which there is no state. That which is the cause for all these states. Yat Prakashayati. You can also say, Yena Prakashate, by which these exist. They are visible. An object, a form, a color is visible to us because the light falls on the object, reflects into my eye. Depending upon which part of the light is reflected, I see the color. If everything other than green is reflected, I see green. Not what is reflected, what is absorbed. If nothing is reflected, I will see black. But I'll still see. All the light falls on it and is absorbed like a black hole. Black hole is supposed to be so dense that even light cannot be reflected from there. A black hole is one way of looking at it. What if everything is reflected? You see white. That light which makes it possible for the eye to see that, eye by itself cannot see. Eye is only it looks like drik for that object. It is not. Because if it does not have the backing of the mind, eye does not see. And eye has many different states. A blind eye, a cataracted eye. All these are seen by whom? By the mind. And the mind itself has many states. How do you recognize the so many states of the mind? Today my mind is upset. How do you know? Something else has to see that mind, no? Today I'm feeling very happy. How do you know? Something else is to be there to see that. That's something, that drik, that sakshi is required. Without which nothing else is existent. Yat prakashate. That which is, because of which these states exist. This body-mind sense complex, its different changing states, all of them are illumined by that one light. In Nataka Deepika, which we are planning to do in August, which is chapter in Panchadashi, he compares this to a light in the auditorium. Without that light, that performer of the dance is not there because you can't see. The accompanying artists are not there because you can't see. The stage is not there because you can't see. The audience is not there because you can't see. And the patron who is sitting there, for whose benefit the whole performance is being done, is not there. Because the light is there, you see the dancer, you see the accompanies, you enjoy everything. And then when the dance finishes, dance program is over. The dancer takes a bow and goes back. There's nobody on the stage. The accompanying artists take a bow and go out. Audience hopefully clap and appreciate the performance and go home. The patron also goes to wherever he has to go. And yet, you know that there is no dancer, that there is no accompanies, that there is no audience. How do you know? Because light shines. Because of that, you know even the anupalabdhi, non-presence. Earlier we had said that this Sakshi Chaitanyam, consciousness, illumines not only knowledge, illumines also ignorance. Ignorance exists because Sakshi is there. Knowledge exists because Sakshi is there. It illumines everything, including anupalabdhi. That Sakshi tat Brahma aham iti jnatva. Brahma is what? That which is desha kala vastu aparichinna. Parichinna rahitaha. Knowing that I am that limitlessness, jnatva, tad Brahma, which is yat prakashate, that which makes existence of everything else possible. Everything else, here we're taking the avasthatraya as an example and saying the entire life experiences is into these categories. Jagat experience, Swapna experience, or Sushupti experience. That Brahman which makes all this possible, Param Brahma, unlimited Brahman, knowing that I am that unlimited Brahman, I am that limitlessness, I am Purnatvam, not this body, mind, sense complex. This body, mind, sense complex, we have cognitively taken out and put in the Mithya Jagat. I am that unlimitedness. Because we said you cannot become infinite. You have to be either infinite or not infinite. There are only two possibilities. If I'm not infinite, I'm never going to become infinite. All that the Shastra is trying to point out to us is, listen, of these two options, to think that I am not infinite, I'm limited, is a mistake. You are infinite. So what happens if I gain that knowledge? In everything we ask, no, what is in it for me? WIIFM. What is in it for me? What do I get? Okay, I'm Brahman, so what? It may be. I thought I was Devadatta, now you're saying I'm Brahman. Okay, I accept your word. What's in it for me? It says, Tad Brahma ahamiti jnatva sarvabandhaihi pramuchyate. Pramuchyate is freed from all bandhana. What are all bandhanas? Why say sarvabandhaihi? You are free from anything which you think binds you. And so many different ways we've looked at it. Any experience binds you. Any karma binds you. Any karma phala binds you. Sarvabandhai. We've been studying avasthatraya. That's your binding. Because any state, any experience has to be limited. Avasthatraya is limitation, Panchakosha is limitation, Sukha Dukkha is limitation, old age and death are limitations. You are not any of these. In daily prayer, we say to Lord Bhagavan Ganesha in the form of Lord Ganesha, Tam kalatrayatitaha Tvam dehatrayatitaha, avastatrayatitaha, atitaha. You transcend all this. And that Lord Ganesha form that we pray to is only a form, but we are recognizing infinity, Purnatvam in that. Here he's saying that Purnatvam you are. Recognize this separation between the Upadhi and you. Sarva bandhaihi pramuchyate. No more bandhana. Just because one cow has been tied with a 1 meter rope or tied by a 10 meter rope, it is both bandha. Sarva bandhaihi pramuchyate. Sukha dukkhadi. All limitations, anything that you don't want, is bandha. So your question about what's in it for me is answered. You are totally free, absolutely free. There is no limitation on you. If there is no limitation on me, why should I do anything? No, you don't have to do anything. But having recognized that you're free, your sharira still has to go through the balance of the prarabdha. You are freed from sarva bandhaihi, including all your karma, including prarabdha karma, but that balance of the prarabdha karma that you came with this sharira has to be experienced. Sanchita karma can disappear, will disappear. There is no kartrutva. Agami karma will disappear. Prarabdha karma is like a released arrow. It has to fly till it falls. The sharira has to continue to experience everything that is sent here to experience. But you are free. You recognize that freedom. Therefore, nothing that happens to the sharira, the mind, the senses, etc., seem to affect the jnani. Ramana Maharshi Bhagavan is said to have undergone surgery. He said, I don't want anesthesia. The body is suffering. It has to suffer. It's got a prarabdha to go through. This I, Brahman, is not the same as every experience. Every sukha dukkhadi bhoga, you're free from all that. But every experience, every sukha dukkha, every experience, every experiencer, every object of experience, everything is nothing but you. But you are none of them. Every form that is seen of a rope in very dim light, whether a snake, whether a small stream of water, or anything else that you see in that, all of them are nothing but that rope. Without that rope, then none of these exist. But the rope is none of them. Rope is different. So he says, Trishu dhamasu yad bhogyam. Dhama is a field of experience. Yad gatvana nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Chant this every day in the 15th chapter. That dhama, yad gatvana nivartante. Having understood that, there is no coming back. Trishu dhamashu yad bhogyam. What are the dhamas here we're talking about? The three states, waking, dream, and sleeping. In the three states, Trishu dhamashu, masu, within the three states, yat bhogyam, whatever is to be enjoyed. In the waking state, there are objects of experience given to us. And with the Sthula Sukma Sharira, we interact with them and experience them. Some very nice, some not so nice. In the Swapna Avastha, also we experience them. But by creating our own objects of experience, we experience them. And in the Shushupti Sthanam, we experience Ananda. Because there is no subject-object. Everything merges. What is the problem? There is a blanket around that knowledge. In Sushupti, all experience of Ananda is known only after waking up. In the Sushupti Sthanam, you know nothing. But you do go through the experience. Although the experience are merged together, you do go through the experience of Ananda. Trishu dhamasu yat bhogyam. And in all these states, there is a bhokta. There is a bhokta in my dream state. I created the bhokta. And I experience sukha and dukha. That bhokta is I. But when I wake up, I am not the bhokta. In Sushupti also same thing. All are merged. And because of this, tamasa abhibhuta sanna, we are not aware of it. In waking state, I know I am experiencing everything. Today I am sad. Next day I am happy. Today I am disturbed. Today my weighing scale says I have lost 2 kilos. I am very happy. Tomorrow, after I had a binge, I gained 1 kilo. I'm unhappy. All these experiences, and I said, this is all real. My experience, I am experiencing. Are you experiencing them? You created yourself in the dream state. Then you wake up and say, no, that is not. All that is all merges into me only. The me in the waking state. What about the waking state? Oh, that is real. That also needs to be woken up. Trishu dhamasu yad bhogyam, that which is to be the object of experience. Bhokta, the experiencer, and bhogaha, experience itself. Cha, even anything else. These three cover everything, but he still says cha. Vishuddhamasu yad bhogyam, bhokta, bhogascha, yad bhavet. In these three states, that which is there which is unchanging, which is common in all of the yad bhavet, yaha bhavet, becomes yad bhavet, tebhyo vilakshana sakshi. Sakshi, the I, is none of them. Every experiencer, every object of experience, and every experience is I, but I am not any of them. Vilakshana. Tebhyo. All the bhoga, bhokta, bhogya in every state. This very beautifully brought out Nirvana Shatkam by Shankaracharya. All this message is the same. Ebhyo vilakshana sakshi. Then who am I? I am not the one who is sleeping, who is experiencing Ananda, not knowing. I am not the dreamer who creates his own prapancham and goes through all the experiences. I cannot be the waker who experiences all that has been given to him by Ishvara, all the objects of experience. In all of these, the three parts of this, and anything, seeing, seer, seen, knowing, knower, known, this triad, that Sakshi is none of them. Tebhyo vilakshana sakshi. Tebhyo vilakshana sakshi. Now very clearly come to Uttama Purusha. Chinmatroham. Chinmatraham. I am nothing but Chaitanyam. Consciousness. Already is brought to the second, third, Prathama Purusha and Madhyama Purusha he is brought in. The real understanding, Aparoksha Jnanam, is when one understands Aham Chaitanya Matrameva. I am only Chaitanyam. Because of the confusion, because Chaitanyam, many people say pure consciousness. Now, if you say pure consciousness, is there another impure consciousness? I don't know. That impure consciousness had to be given to the laundry. Make it pure consciousness. In fact, there is one set of philosophy by one Acharya called Vallabhacharya, but I think 500 or 600 years ago. He has a school of thought called Shuddha Advaita. Okay. Anything is only Advaita or non-Advaita. You cannot have Shuddha Advaita, separate, qualified Advaita. Either Advaita or not Advaita. But he has a philosophy that is done. So if you look up Shuddha Advaita, you will probably find in Google a lot of things. Vallabhacharya. Chinmatramevaham. I am that unchanging, partless, avikara, Chaitanyam, which does nothing. How do you see this? Chinmatra by itself can neither be seen nor felt. Chaitanyam is Chaitanyam. What are you going to use to know Chaitanyam? Nothing. Chaitanyam is what is there for you to know everything else. That's Chaitanyam Aham. I can't know Chaitanyam without Upadhi. It is like there's electricity running through all this. I can't see the electricity. The other day, I think somebody gave this example. But I see the light and therefore I know electricity is there. I see all the varieties of things in the Jagat and I recognize Chaitanyam. And when I recognize the Chaitanyam, which is Purnatvam, and that Chaitanyam is I, Chinmatroham Sadashivaha. I am Shiva. You can't even define it. Shiva is loosely translated as auspiciousness. But really there is no translation. Sadashiva. In the world, everything is there and yet unattached, untainted. Like Shiva is known to be in the Smashan Ghat, among all the inauspicious things. He wears the bhasma of the from the same place. Inauspicious. He holds poison in his throat. Inauspicious. He has snakes all around him. Inauspicious. And yet unaffected. Shiva, auspiciousness itself. Sambha Shiva. Ambena Saha Shiva. Amba is Shakti. Unaffected. That's why the stories, Puranas, we show Shiva as in the midst of all this, doing only tapas. Unaffected. Amidst all the activities which are considered inauspicious. This Jagat is inauspicious because it's changing. It has mrityu, it has jara, it has dukkha. In that Jagat, within that I have a Sharira. There I have to recognize Chaitanyam, which I cannot recognize without its upadhi. If I can segregate the upadhi in my own mind, I don't need to recognize anything at all. Shivoham. That is jnanam. Aham brahmosmi. Then I am in the world, I interact with the world, I do all that needs to be done in the world. Totally unattached. Asangoham. Nothing affects me. Like Sadashiva. I remain unaffected. That Brahman, I have to only recognize in my only place where I can recognize, which is my buddhi. There is no other locus for that recognition. And from this Sakshi, the whole world is born, whole Jagat is born. Jagat is sustained by it, and everything the Jagat resolves back into I. We will see that first tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.